Following up from my main video today where I briefly mentioned two stories, I wanted to dive in depth and actually break them down and talk about them specifically. The first story from Daily Wire: woman stabs herself, informs police I'm tired of living in Trump's country. Trump derangement syndrome has gotten to the point, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but a woman literally stabbed herself and then called the cops. Now, of course, people can be crazy, and crazy things happen. There was a dude in Florida once who took some crazy-ass drug called Flocka and then actually ate another guy. But in this instance, it's specifically Trump derangement syndrome. The other story comes from PJ Media. It's a video, so take it for what it is. TDS on steroids. Leftist thug parks car in the middle of the street to attack Trump supporters in Los Angeles. This guy actually parked his car in the middle of the street, gets out and starts yelling at people. So I did highlight this in my main video, but I want to break them down and go into the specifics. We'll start with the woman who stabbed herself. It's crazy. Before we get started, go to timcast.com/donate to support my work. You can really use your support now more than ever, considering YouTube is becoming quite censorious and demonetizing many channels. And I don't know who's next. The rules seem rather arbitrary. They're taking out journalists. So I greatly appreciate anything you could give through here, but of course, the best thing you can do is just like and comment on the video, share and subscribe because engagement really helps. But let's read. On Sunday, a Palmetto, Florida woman stabbed herself 3 times, then told the police officer responding to the situation, I'm tired of living in Trump's country. I'm tired of Trump being president. I don't quite understand how stabbing yourself 3 times will rectify this, other than you just don't want to live here, but you could always just go somewhere else. Mexico is not that far away. You're in Florida. You're pretty close to Cuba. The police report, obtained by the Smoking Gun, in which the woman's name was redacted, stated, on 6/2/2019, I responded to XXX Palmetto, Florida, in reference to XXX, I guess it's the woman's name redacted, having stabbed herself with a kitchen knife. Upon my arrival, I observed, redacted, standing outside of her home. I observed blood all over her legs and face. I did not observe her holding weapons at the time. When I asked what was wrong, she lifted up her shirt and exposed her belly to me. I observed 3 stab wounds on her stomach that were still bleeding. I'm tired of living in Trump's country. I'm tired of Trump being president. She told me she had stabbed herself because she does not want to live in Trump's country. EMS arrived and transported her to Blake Medical Center under trauma alert. She stated to me that she has been Baker acted before and has attempted to hurt herself in the past. She said, I evaluated her for BA52. I strongly believe there is substantial likelihood that without care or treatment, the person will cause bodily harm to herself and others. I believe that she is unable to determine for herself whether examination is necessary. As Yahoo News reported, the Baker Act is the Florida Mental Health Act of 1971, which allows the involuntary institutionalization and examination of a person. The examination can be requested by a judge, physicians, mental health professionals, and law enforcement, so long as there is evidence a person has possible mental illness and is in danger of harming themselves or others. The police report stated that the officer went to the hospital with the EMS team to make sure the woman became stable. The woman then told him that her daughter had been apprised of the incident. So I want to make sure I stress this woman clearly is unwell to begin with, but I do believe that, basically this is what starts first, right? We've definitely seen street battles. That's the next story we'll get into. But you have someone who's already unwell, and then when you start cranking out all of this insane news and nonsense from these fake news organizations, it makes people like she's obviously the first person to be affected by this because she's already unwell. But we're getting to the point where regular people are losing their minds and don't know what's real anymore. I've told this story before, but I had a friend who was a lefty DSA type, anarchist kind of street punk millennial type, tell me that she was now in favor of conversion therapy because of the trans rights argument. And I was really confused. I was like, I don't think you know what reality is anymore. I seriously, what do you believe? Do you really believe that someone who is male can become attracted to someone who is male through therapy? Through like imagine if someone is gay. Do you believe this person can be converted into being straight? And she said no. And then I said, but you just told me that you think a trans woman, a biological male, and another biological male could eventually learn to love each other and be attracted to each other. And she said yes. And I said, how is that not conversion therapy? And just didn't work. She freaked out, got really angry. We're not friends anymore. It's the craziest thing. It's very few people I've ever had this happen to. But I think what happens is, it starts with the people who are already unwell. But when your reality can't make sense anymore, you snap. People follow the media and they think they know what's real. But if you don't have the mental fortitude to, the strength of mind to understand what's actually going on around you, you will snap. It's basically like, the simplest way I can explain it is, if you're surrounded by people who always say 2 + 2 is 5, you will start saying it must be true. Everyone says this is reality. But then all of a sudden you encounter, 2 apples and 2 apples. Say, wait a minute. There's 4 apples. Your brain just can't handle it. Your reality is shattered. So this woman stabs herself when this happens. Again, she's already unwell. But then we see this. This story from PJ Media where a dude literally gets out of his car, spits in a woman's face, and then starts fighting with people. One dude pulls out a skateboard, bashes another dude with it. They say a man suffering from acute Trump derangement syndrome went on an anti-Trump rampage at the site of Trump supporters at a rally in LA on Sunday. The unidentified man, who was later arrested, was so enraged at the sight of the MAGA hat-clad rally-goers that he parked his car in the middle of the street and charged them. The man's shocked family watched from the car as he assaulted and spat on the Trump supporters. Omar Navarro, a Republican candidate who was running for Congress against the virulently anti-Trump Democrat Maxine Waters in 2020, had just left the rally when the blowup occurred. Navarro described the attack in a post on Facebook. First, he illegally parked his car in the middle of the street, got out, and began to yell at, put his hands on, and even spit in the face of Trump supporters. And all the Trump supporters were doing was hanging out and celebrating the eventual re-election of Trump in 2020. Yet this man had so much hate in his heart towards Trump that he decided to leave his family in his car in the middle of the street and come attack these Trump supporters. Thankfully, justice was served, and this man was arrested because you can't put your hands on people and try to suppress their right to free speech. But what do you think happens when the media doesn't stop screaming in your ears at full volume all of the worst things about Trump? You lose your mind. I imagine this guy literally, we say Trump derangement syndrome to be silly. It's a joke. It's like, it's mocking them losing their minds. But I kid you not, people are actually losing their minds. Think about this. The first woman who stabbed herself, I get it. She's been, taken in before, but she's the first to lose it because she's already susceptible to this. This guy leaving his family in his car. Could you imagine this? Guy pulls up with his family, leaves them in the middle of the street. There could have been an accident, all because he's so triggered by the sight of Trump supporters. That's how insane people are being driven. A video of the attack, which Navarro posted on Twitter, shows a black man wearing a cross pendant, ironically, repeatedly getting into the faces of a multiracial group of rally-goers and bellowing F Donald Trump. At one point, he can be seen pushing one of the Trump supporters and spitting on a feisty Latina who had just yelled, "He's your president whether you like that S or not, and get the F out of our country then." The man called the woman a punk-ass bitch before spitting in her face. So I'll play some of this. I don't want to play it too loud, though. So for those that are listening, the guy gets up in the face of these Trump supporters. Omar Navarro talks about what happened. It was looks like a decently large group of people, maybe a couple hundred. And then we can see this guy stepping out. Let me jump past Omar's commentary. No disrespect to Omar, but he points out that this guy is just leaving the rest of his family in his car, and they look all shocked. And then all of a sudden, let's get to the video in question. Well, so this isn't the video in full, but you do see the man getting arrested. The video I saw showed people jumping up, whacking him with skateboards. Not him. There were other people fighting too. Omar said, if someone's going to put their hands and try and censor their free speech, they're going to get arrested. You got to respect the First Amendment right of the people. So Omar tweeted, this man had so much hate in his heart, he illegally parked his car. I think we read that already. Navarro made a good point about Maxine Waters and her call for fellow leftists to push back on Trump supporters when they see them in public. Unhinged assaults on Trump supporters have plagued the nation since 2016, as PJ Media has documented over and over. And the reason it keeps happening is because of people like Waters. Democrat politicians and their allies in the media have so demonized the president and his supporters that leftists feel the attacks are justified, even virtuous. They then go on to say, here's a list of the latest attacks, and they're quite a bit. But I'll say this. PJ Media is pretty hyper-partisan. Take it for what it is. But I will respect that point they made about Maxine Waters. She said push back on these people. I understand she's not saying get violent. But what do you think's going to happen when you tell people to get in each other's faces? Right? What do you think happens when you tell someone to throw a milkshake at somebody else? What do you think happens when the media produces 92% negative coverage on the president, And digital media is making the most insane, hyperbolic nonsense about the fringe far right. People are going to lose their minds. This guy probably thinks he's actually stepping up to a bunch of, extremists when it's just a bunch of regular Americans who like the president. The rhetoric is getting absolutely insane. I'm not going to, I'll leave it there for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below, or if you're listening on the podcast, leave a review. I got some more segments coming up in just a few moments, and I will see you then.